Watch this review here with a look at Batman from the DC Universe Classics Wave 10, aka the Walmart exclusive Imperiex wave. Unfortunately, Batman catches a lot of flack because, let's face it, the Batman figures are all basically the same sculpt, with just a different paint job, different accessories, and usually a touch-up on the belt and so forth. However, this incarnation of Batman holds special appeal to me because this is the look that he had in the movies, the Burton movies, the really great ones, before they decided to let Schumacher take over the films and tank the franchise. At any rate, Batman's not very popular for this wave for one other reason, that being the fact that he comes with a figure stand instead of an Imperiex piece, but for me this was a must-own. If for no other reason than for a considerable length of time, as far as I was concerned, Michael Keaton was Batman. I mean, yes, I had seen other stuff before that, but when Batman was paired with Robin, that was always struck me as being goofy, and then the entire Adam West thing, even as a kid, you really can't take that stuff seriously. It really wasn't meant to be taken seriously at all. So, this was my interpretation of Batman until I started picking up some of the older comics and so forth. At any rate, Batman stands about 6 1/4 inches to the top of his head, but almost about 6 1/2 inches to the top of his cowl. He comes with a stand, a blue batarang, which looks pretty decent, but it doesn't look like what he was using in the movies, and his bat top. Just get this thing open. There it goes. Oh, okay, I'm really sorry about that bad pun. I seriously have to apologize, but as far as accessories go, this is kind of weird one, but whatever. I have no worry to keep it on him. As far as articulation goes, I'll probably talk about that more in the classic detective Batman video, just because, it's got the same articulation and so forth, so let me quickly talk about the paint here. Now, although it's basically a solid black figure, there is paint variation because the boots and gloves here, I guess gloves / gauntlets, are a glossier black than the rest of the figure. And then a slightly glossier coat's also used for the cowl here up at the top. But interestingly enough, that gloss doesn't carry over all the way, it looks like, although it's barely noticeable. So in some ways, I guess it is kind of like the detective look, where you have a darker front of the cowl than the rest, but I think that's probably just a kind of production thing. Other than that, this is a really cool figure and so forth. And despite being a pretty plain looking figure, I personally find this to be a fairly exciting sculpt, just for the representation. And of course, I love the huge contrast between the black of the costume and the utility belt. And for those of you who didn't see the old movies, I just have to say, man, did you miss out, Those movies gave me my childhood phobias of balloons and boat rides and so forth. Plus, I must say, I'll never look at a penguin with a rocket launcher on its back the same way again. I think I now have a perennial distrust and fear of penguins with weaponry strapped to them. And although I thought Jack Nicholson was a great Joker, it was really Danny DeVito's Penguin that gave me nightmares and so forth. By the way, the joints in this figure are awesome. I've never felt articulation this smooth without the joints being really loose. So it's really something incredible. Back on point. Penguin is probably one of my favorite Batman villains just because I really got behind Danny DeVito's performance, and then, of course, I was a huge fan of Burgess Meredith, not just for his role in Batman, mind you, but also for his contributions to horror, such as his role in a few Amicus films like Torture Garden. By the way, Grand Moff Tarkin, Peter Cushing, was also a huge Amicus player, as was, Christopher Christopher, shoot, the guy who played Dracula in Horror of Dracula, and then Count Dooku, Christopher Lee, I think. He's also a huge Amicus player. Amicus films are just completely awesome. If you're a horror fan, I totally recommend checking them out. They came out during the 60s, kind of low budget, but totally awesome. At any rate, Penguin I was huge on. And Joker, of course. I mean, Batman was one of the films that really got behind the whole concept of Penguin as being one of Batman's real arch villains. I mean, prior to that, I was mostly watching the cartoons, and I guess I'd see a comic every now and then, but Joker didn't make as much of an impact on me until that film, and then later The Killing Joke. Some people have gotten down on Michael Keaton just because he had a really stone-face way of acting. He had a very seemingly reserved approach as opposed to guys like Clooney and Christian Bale, but I think that was part of the charm. He played a more serious character, and I appreciate that. I also liked Val Kilmer. I don't know if I've mentioned that or not, but I thought he was a pretty decent Batman. I was pretty disappointed when they decided to pull him out and put Clooney in. I have no idea what they were thinking when they came out with Batman and Robin. I guess it was kind of a throwback to the old stuff, but the first two Batman movies are definitely the way to go. By first two, I don't mean the Adam West movie based on the TV serial. I mean the two Burton movies, and then maybe if you catch Batman Forever, which wasn't too bad. I mean, Jim Carrey goes a little crazy with the whole Riddler performance and stuff, and some people don't like the Two-Face. I thought he was a kind of cool Two-Face, although, again, he's a little out there. It was a nice representation. And I completely hate the fact that in the latest franchise, they've already knocked off Two-Face, and then, because of Heath Ledger's death, I don't think we'll see the Joker back for a few movies if they decide to keep the franchise. I mean, it was good that they were starting to, save the characters and leave them around and so forth so they could have the villains make repeat performances, but I guess we kind of have luck. I'm still really hoping that the next film will be either Penguin or Riddler or both. Or even a Catwoman reboot. Just because, I mean, after what Halle Berry did with Catwoman, it'd be nice to see somebody take it kind of back to basics and then get a really good spin-off working just so we can have more Batman universe and Batman continuity things going on. But, I'm totally off to subject. All in all, I like this figure mostly for, it's mostly due to the sentimental attachment to the older films. And it's basically this interpretation that I'm really a fan of. So I'm not sure if it appeals to most people, some people, or any people, but you know what? It appeals to me. And, that's what matters. But I love this wave. I mean, the only two figures in it that I thought I didn't really care about were Forager, who I thought looked horrendous and I knew nothing about. But I guess he's something to do with the New Gods, and Robot Man, which, again, didn't really know a ton about, other than that he was one of Beast Boy's old running pals. Until next time, folks.